folks, welcome back to Good Enough Customs. So we are back on Harvey Dent, getting this guy sorted out. Jackson's had his license now for 2-ish weeks, almost 2 weeks. And I'm still carting him around everywhere, which I know as a 16-year-old, yeah, it kind of sucks, you know, even though I'm a cool dad. My mom tells me I'm cool.
But my mom says I'm cool.
So, anyhow, I know I'm all right guy, you know, and I'm still a cool dad, but I'm still a dad. So he's gone and he's got his license. He's wanting to get out there and start driving himself to school and going to different things and you know, being a teenager who can drive. I get that. And so we're going to try our damnedest to get this thing on the road this week. We may skip a few things. I know I've already bought a a lowering kit for this truck. Basically just an axle flip for the rear, which will drop it about 5 inches. And then I was just going to cut the front coils. We might have to skip that because I've really only got today to work on this thing. And so today what I really need to do is get the ball joints changed out because these guys are trash, and the wheel bearings fixed because, again, they are trash. And then we know we've got factory ball joints. That's pretty doggone bright, but you can see these are riveted in. So those are factory ball joints. And then, of course, this side, you can see all that play in the wheel bearings. And we've all been down that wheel bearing path. I start hearing a chirp, and this thing about pulls me right off the freaking road, hard to the right. And I've either got brake caliper stuck or I've got a wheel bearing going out. So I'm thinking it's the wheel bearing because that wheel is, yeah, that's going to be a wheel bearing.
Good gosh.
So we don't want Jackson to reenact me and Steve in Pensacola on Power Tour and smoke a wheel bearing and, you know, be stranded on the side of the road. So that's what we're going to kind of try and do today. Is we're going to get the wheel bearing swapped out, get the ball joint swapped out, and then I've got new brake shoes for it. Not shoes, brake pads. Shoes are in the back, pads are on the front. I've got new pads for it because these pads are pretty well done. So I've got a new set of pads for it, but I need to go get these rotors turned if they can be turned, and I haven't even gotten my tape measure on it to see if they're too narrow because, you know, at a certain point they can't turn them. And I really don't want to buy a new set of a new set of rotors for this thing. It's $120 a piece. So I did a check online. Did a check online, and it said an inch. What was it? 1.215 inches, which the best I could figure is like 1 1/8 is the minimum thickness. And so I see the 1/8 tag, and I still got room. So this should be able to be turned. So I think what I'm gonna do is break the brakes loose, pull the brake caliper off, pull the hub, and get this rotor cleaned up enough to where I can take it to the parts house half-hour away and let them turn these rotors. And then we'll go through. We'll have to pack the bearings. Yay! So I'll have to pack the bearings, which I actually have some new grease. I bought a new thing of grease somewhere, so I don't know where it's at. I'll find it. I think it's in the house. But we'll have to do all that, get this thing all pulled apart. And while we got it pulled apart, I don't know, maybe we go ahead and start hacking on the coil springs. Maybe we go ahead and do the rear end. I just got to fix the muffler in the back. So anyways, I guess that's enough of my jaw flapping, man. I tell you, I get to talking and I just can't stop sometimes. So I guess I'm gonna pull. Well, before I go, hang on. All right, so before I go to the parts house to get the try and get those rotors turned. I guess maybe pull pull a brake drum off so I can actually see what we look like back there. Oh yeah, we got plenty of stuff left. And they look fine. Sweet. So we don't have to do anything with the rear. Yay. So rear brakes good. Front brakes not so much. But we'll get that cleared up here shortly. So I guess I'm going to jump right in here and start breaking apart the front end so we can get these rotors off and get them down to the parts house. So I'll catch up with you in a few. Well, alrighty, so finally brought all the parts out here to the shop. So give you a quick rundown of what all I ordered. So went with the good stuff. So we got Moog. I think these are the upper ball joints. Those are the lowers, if I remember correctly. Or I may have those backwards. I can't remember. Anyways, I'll figure it out once I go to put them in. Raybestos brakes. Timken bearings. We got the Beltec Nitro Drop 2 shocks. Those are for the drop kit when we put that on there. I was having a hard time finding just generic drop shocks, you know, something for a 5.4 drop or whatever. Really, Beltec's the only ones I could find. So that was the most expensive part. That was $200 for the shocks. So the rest of the parts I got, the pretty much all of them on this wheel. I got all this stuff on Rock Auto. This was $160, I think, for everything. So if you don't use Rock Auto, if you're not in a rush and you can wait for the shipping, usually shipping isn't too terrible. Usually a couple 3 days and you'll have the parts. But or you can always pay a little extra and get them overnighted or whatever. But yeah, the prices on this stuff, I want to say, I think it was these guys. I looked these up at like O'Reilly's and Advance and all that, and they were like $39 a piece, $40 a piece, and then these guys were like $35 a piece. So that right there would have blown the budget completely out. I think I got these on a clearance thing on Rock Auto for like $13 a piece, and these were like $16 a piece. So, and then the brake pads, you know, I think the brake pads were, you know, $20 maybe. I don't remember all the prices. It wasn't much. It's pretty cheap. The only thing that kind of hurts you there is if you have to ship from multiple warehouses, which I had to come from 2 different warehouses, so I ended up paying like $22 in shipping. But that's okay. You know, it still comes out cheaper to do it this way. So if you can wait a little bit, order from Rock Auto. It's a little cheaper way to get your parts, especially if you can wait for them. I also ordered some more wheel bearing grease. I ordered these off of Amazon. I got the Lucas red and tacky grease. Figure if I'm gonna get it, might as well make it sticky as hell. So I ordered that. I don't remember how much those were. It was like, I don't know, 30 or 40 bucks for 4, you know, 1 pound jug tubs of them or whatever. So I ordered a bunch more wheel bearing grease and some high quality stuff instead of just the crap that they have sitting at the parts house. So anyways, we got all this stuff out ready to kind of go. Let's get started on tearing the front brakes down so I can go get those things turned. Alrighty, so first things first, we got to take the caliper off. So 3/8 Allen will end up getting in there and getting the bolt, and then just break her loose. You know, I probably ought to invest on a set of Allen wrench sockets. I don't think I have any of those, so that'd make this a little bit easier, but I don't have that, so work with what I got. I think I actually have a shorter set of these. All right, so we got our pins that are out. Set those off to the side.
Looks like you got a bolt.
Why is this thing so hard to get out? Oh, there we go. Anytime you take a caliper off, don't let it just sit and hang by the hose. That's no bueno. So strap it up. I just usually run a couple zip ties through a random spot and hook it up and go. All right, brake line. We're good there. All right, brakes out of the way. Let's get this dust shield off. All right, get you in here. Get you in here so you can see what we're doing. So, knock the dust cap off. Now we got to get the cotter pin out. Then we can get this castle nut taken off of here. And they did a number on this cotter pin. So if you can get just a little bit of it sticking out, you can take your needle nose, run it down in there, and a lot of times pry it on out. And then sometimes, worst case, you can get it in there and it's stuck, like, you know, there it's kind of stuck. If you can get this in the hole, if it's really tight in, you can just twist the top, and you can literally just twist this thing and it'll just coil up the cotter pin. We got new cotter pins, so we probably won't reuse these. Plus these are really short. All right, so now we got our nut, which shouldn't be too terribly tight. We do have plenty of grease in here, so that's a good thing. Why are we not turning? What's the problem? There we go. All right, so like I said, these guys should not be too tight. You know, it's kind of unbelievable, but these things are only cranked down to like 12 foot-pounds or something. It's crazy stupid how light you crank these guys down to. So we'll get that guy out, and then we'll slide this out to get our washer. And then we got our old bearing, the old outer bearing here. Let's see what she looks like. It's actually not in bad shape. Definitely needed some more grease in it, but that's okay. We got replacements. And then pull that off. So there's one rotor out of the way. That's going to be for ABS. That is some good sticky grease I got on here, though, that's for sure. The spindle looks to be in really good shape. I think we're good with this. We'll take and clean all this stuff up as we get to putting everything back together. So now I just got to get the wheel seal out, or the hub seal, and get this inner bearing out of the rotor, and then kind of clean it up so I can take it to the parts house for them to turn it. So I'm gonna let Jackson take care of the other side, and then we're gonna run to the parts house. So we'll be back in just a few. Well, I forgot to turn the camera on, so I've already pulled the hub seal, that guy, and the inner bearing out using my handy dandy made at home seal puller. The tip on this guy's a little thick, so it didn't I couldn't get between the bearing and the seal to just pop the seal out, but since we're replacing the bearings, I wasn't too worried about it. So I just grabbed the bottom of the bearing and just pulled up, and she popped right on out. So I've already cleaned out most of the grease, so I'm just kind of wiping out the rest of it. This thing definitely had plenty of grease in it, and it still had plenty of life left in it. It just, I say plenty of life, it probably didn't have a ton of life left in it, because it used to be red grease, so it's black now, so it's a little dirty and a little burnt. You can definitely smell it. So anyways, that's all right, as long as this rotor will turn out. Like I said, I checked it with the tape measure. The minimum thickness, I think, was 1.215. And, of course, I don't know fractions super well. You know, fraction to decimal conversion. So, I goggled it. And, the goggle machine said it was like 1/130 or something like that. I don't know. It was less than a 1/4 inch, but more than an 1/8. I thought, or maybe it was less than an 1/8. I can't remember. Anyways, we should be close. But if they've only got to take, you know, a few thousandths off, because these things actually feel really good. They got a little lip up here at the edge, but they're not like beat in the middle. So they should be able to turn these out. Anyhow, we'll get in here and get all this old grease out. I'm sure the parts house guys will appreciate that, so we're not gumming up their machines. So while we're in here, we'll take a look at the races. And that race looks fine, so I don't see any reason to punch it out. And that race looks fine as well, so we'll probably just reuse the races. It's just a little less work that we have to do. So anyways, this guy's ready to go to the to go get resurfaced. So we'll do that here in just a few and get back with you. Well, alrighty, so just got back from the parts house and getting us some lunch. And well, the good news is you know, the O'Reilly's just up the road from me here. They actually got a new lathe machine in there. Yay! Bad news is they don't have the proper attachments for this type of rotor. Boo. And then even worse news was I was like, well, let's just check and see if they can be turned really quick. I was like, they don't need much, but I was like, there probably ain't a whole lot there, you know, so, you know, maybe we can turn it out if need be. He checked it. It was literally, it was right below the minimum thickness. So not safe for use. So we had to buy new hub rotor combo things because it's all one piece. Those guys are not cheap. You know, it was, I think they were $120 a piece. Yeah, rotor hub mixes, that's not real cheap. Anyways, so we got new rotors, new hubs, so that's a little bit, you know, easier, I guess. It's just, you know, whatever. Picked up some hub seals, so we can, you know, seal up the hubs. Funny thing is if you look back, or if you remember back when I was kind of walking around this just a little while ago, there's a wrench there. The driver's side had a ton of play in it, and I was like, wow, that those bearings are shot. Bearings are actually new on the driver's side. Brand new bearings in that thing. They are shot because they didn't put a hub seal in there, so there was nothing to kind of retain the inner bearing. So when we pulled whenever Jackson got the nut off, it damn near shot the whole hub off the spindle because there wasn't nothing there to retain it or hold that inner bearing. So also there wasn't a whole lot of grease left inside the hub. Yeah, so once we got everything pulled apart and set off to the side, I looked, I was like, well, there's your problem.
It ain't got no gas in it.
It was missing the hub seal. So anyways, it's a good thing we pulled it apart anyways, because like I said, those guys are beyond the minimum thickness for the rotors, so technically they shouldn't have even been turned last time they were turned. I was just really, really hopeful that they would, you know, they would turn out and it'd be all right. Because, you know, $20, I think. It's either 10 or 20 bucks a piece to turn them. I think it was 10 or 15. I don't remember. It wasn't much. Worst case, 40 bucks to turn the rotors is a lot better than 250 for new ones. God. So anyways, but the good side is we have the new ones. They are very fresh. They got new inner races on them. Everything's ready to go on those, so we'll get those bearings packed up here in just a few minutes, and well, maybe not so much a few minutes, but we'll get those bearings packed up here in just a little while, and go ahead and get those hubs loaded up and kind of ready to go. We're probably going to wait on that for just a little bit. I think what we're going to do is we're going to look at going ahead and trying to do the lowering kit on this guy, mainly because the rear shouldn't be that hard. It's not hard to do one of these, axle flips. They're pretty easy, actually. So what we'll have to do there is drop the drive shaft back off, which I just put on, disconnect the brakes and all that. You can do it one of a couple of ways. You can take the leaf springs completely out and slide them back up underneath the axle, so then you don't really have to take the axle out. Which we may do. It just depends on if I can get all the bolts to break loose. Or take the axle completely out, drop one end of the leaf spring, slide the axle on top, bolt the leaf spring back up, and then reconnect everything. That means that we'd have to bleed the rear brakes out, which is okay. It's just, I hate bleeding brakes. And you never quite seem to get all the air out. Plus this, I think, has the ABS system on it. So I know there's something weird you have to do there for the ABS stuff. So I'm going to try not to do that side of it. I don't know if there's enough room. I have done this before where take the axle and just pick it up and stick it over the leaf spring, turn it kind of sideways and, get one end up and over and then shove the axle over and then pick it up and slide it back through. To do it that way, I just don't know if we have enough room between the leaf spring and the frame to be able to do that. We'll find out. So I think what we're going to do is we'll probably get started back there, see if everything breaks loose. If everything breaks loose easy enough, then we'll go ahead and go forward with the lowering for the rear, because I want to get the rear done first. And then I already know I got to cut some off the spring on the front. I haven't done one of these trucks before, so I'm not sure how many rounds to take off the actual spring. I don't want to take too much and have the front end just sitting on the ground, but I don't want to take too little and have it look like it's dragging its butt. So we don't want that. So I'd like to get the lower kit on there before we put the new ball joints on, because I'm going to have to take that upper one apart quite a few times to get the spring in and out. Actually really only gonna have to really fight with it the first time, and then after that the spring will be shorter, so it won't be as difficult. But yeah, so that's kind of where we're at. So I guess I'm gonna get down here and kind of figure out what we got going on in the back, and that's gonna kind of dictate where we go next. So if the back seems like it's gonna come apart fairly easy, we'll go ahead and move forward with the lowering kit. If it seems like it's gonna be a freaking nightmare, we'll push it off. We'll wait on doing the drop, and then we'll just focus on getting the ball joints replaced and getting these front hubs loaded up and getting everything ready to go there. So I guess I'm gonna go fiddle with that for a few, and then I'll check back in. I don't know, here in just a little bit. So see y'all in a second. Well, so I've climbed up underneath this guy and went ahead and shot some Freon on all the bolts for the rear end, because I was like, well, let's just see how tight everything is, how difficult they're going to be to break open. And so as I was doing all that, I just kind of looked and was just like, well, you know what? Let me measure and see what kind of clearance we're going to have when we flip this axle on top of the leaf spring. And there ain't much, because I was sitting there thinking, I was like, doing an axle flip, I mean, you get pretty close to the frame, so we might have to C-notch the frame. And yeah, long story short, we got to C-notch the frame. I haven't bought C-notch brackets, so I guess we're probably not going to drop this guy today. We're just going to go ahead and just do the maintenance that we need to do to get this guy on the road, which, it is what it is. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. So yeah, so here's axle underneath the leaf spring, and you can see here's the bump stop, and there ain't a whole lot of clearance. So if we go with the leaf spring, so say we go from the top of the leaf spring here to the bottom of this frame, I stuck a tape measure on that. It's about 4 inches. So we got about 4 inches of clearance from where this, because the axle's gonna sit here, and then you got the top of the axle, you got the thickness of the axle to deal with. And so I put a tape measure on the axle, and more specifically, I put the tape measure here on this bump stop pad. And it measures out to, I think it was 3 1/4 inch. roughly. You know, this is just kind of eyeballing it with the thing. I'm not using like a straight edge or a caliper or anything like that to measure this with. But it's roughly 3¼ inches from the top of this pad to the bottom of the axle tube. You know, right now we've got a decent amount of distance here. I don't know, 6 inches or so. The problem is when we go and flip this axle on top of this leaf spring, we're going to end up with that pad literally sitting on the bump stop. So we're going to have to lose the bump stop, which I'm not against. That's fine. All that does is just cushion it whenever it bangs into the frame. Problem is we're only going to have about 3/4 inch of up travel. That's not a lot. It's not very good. So 3/4 inches of up travel is it's not enough. So so I think what we're going to do, we're going to err on the side of caution here. We're going to go ahead and fix the front end. I hate the thought of having to break those ball joints back apart. You know, that I'm just fixing to put on here, but that's okay, I guess. So we'll go ahead and get the front end kind of rebuilt. You know, new ball joints upper and lower, new bearings. We got new rotor, new hub, new pads. So a bunch of new pieces going up front. We're going to skip on the drop for right now. We'll come back and revisit that later. Once Jackson saves up a little bit of money and he can buy the C-notch kit for it. Of course, I'll help him put it in there and all that stuff. So, so you know, we've got the shocks for it, but those are 5/4 drop shocks. That's not going to work on a stock height truck. Well, luckily, you know, parts hoarder, you know, most hot rod guys are. We hang on to most everything. Now these aren't my parts. These are actually my buddy Crook's parts, but we tore down back in 2020 at the start of the pandemic. Whenever we were building Caden's truck, he had a 98 model. I think it was a 98, it might have been 97. Either way, it was a late 90s Chevy work truck, very similar to this one, except his was a long bed and his was in the shape of a banana. So it had gotten rear-ended by a garbage truck. Truck was a complete loss. So we stripped it down, took all the good usable parts off of it, and scrapped the body and the frame. It was bent so bad that when we were jacking it up to get underneath it to pull the transmission, the frame was literally bending. The rear of the truck stayed stationary. The front of the frame just kept going up. So yeah, it was bad. Anyways, when we stripped that down, he's like, dude, I just put brand new shocks on this thing. And so he's like, I'll be danged if I'm gonna let those go to the scrap yard. So we pulled the shocks off of it. I'm looking at the shocks right now. So we'll run those temporarily on here. So we will go ahead and at least swap out the shocks because these are completely blown out. So we're going to borrow those shocks from Crook. I don't think he'll mind. I'm pretty confident he won't. He'll get them back because whenever we do the drop, I've got new shocks for the drop. But anyway, so we're going to get the new shocks, or new-ish, the new to us borrowed shocks on here, and get the front end done. New shocks in the front, new shocks in the rear, and try and get this guy on the ground. I still got to put the muffler back together, which I've got the pieces and parts to do that with, so that's not a problem. But yeah, we'll get this guy slapped back together and get it back on the road. Hopefully today, if not first thing in the morning. So I guess we're going to get started. All right, so here we go. We're going to go ahead and break loose this upper ball joint. Go ahead and get it broke loose here. Probably just enough, you know, we'll have to get the cotter pin out down over here and get that, we'll take the nut and just loosen it up a little bit. And then I'll stick the pickle fork in there and get it broke loose. And then once we get it broke loose, we'll go ahead and cut on these rivets. So we can find all the rivets. Boy, this thing's chock full of crap. Let's see. Yeah, there's a rivet. That one's actually a stud with a nut on it. There's a rivet, and then there's a rivet. So I couldn't remember if there was a rivet here or not, but apparently it's just caked on crud. Yeah, look at that. Good as new. So I forgot to get a socket for that, so I'll have to get that. But first things first, we got to get this castle nut off and get it loosened up, and then we'll go ahead and break this guy loose. The one thing you do have to worry about on these guys, as opposed to like the C10 trucks, like my square bodies, is these actually have a tone ring on it. So you got your wheel speed sensor right here. So you got to be careful with this, not to break, you know, the little line. And I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do that because I haven't monkeyed with one of these. I'm guessing, oh yeah, it's held on with this little stud here. So it's held on there, so that'll give me some slack to let it hang out, and then we can let it down and get this guy out of there. So then we'll figure out how to go about getting this thing done so where we can get to that bottom one. So anyways, here we go. Okie dokie. So we're going to start off by taking this loose for the wheel speed sensor. Going to break it loose. It's actually that one studded bolt right here on the ball joint. So it's got a bolt head on this side and on this side. Best I can tell, it's 1/2 inch, unless it's a 13 millimeter, but 13.5 pretty much are the same. So we will see what we see. All right, so since this guy, I don't want to break the wheel sensor stuff. I think I'm just going to pull the dust shield off because that's what it's attached to, is attached to the dust shield. So we're just going to pull this dust shield off, the backing plate, whatever you want to call it. And it looks like it's just held on with 4 bolts. I got 2 here and then 2 over here. Here, I'll turn it a little bit so you can see it. So we got 2 bolts there, 2 bolts there. Again, 1/2 inch, maybe 13 mil, but 1/2 inch works. Oh, it's just 2. No, it's 3. Okay. All right, so it is just 3 that hold it on, these 3. This one has got a nut on the back of it, which I guess holds the tone ring on. So we'll just slide that off to the side, get it out of the way. Starting to get worried that this thing didn't have a cotter pin. So that's some cowboy stuff right there. Aching for this thing to come off equals a bad day. Boy, I don't know what has got them cows all riled up over the way, but they are going nuts. Hopefully it doesn't have anything to do with that chainsaw I keep hearing. That'd be messy. That'd be a gruesome time. All right, cotter pin's finally out. So let's break this guy loose. Probably turn it this way. Drop lights. Oh, so useful, but always in the way. This thing had a pretty big honking nut on it. It's a 1 1/16 inch nut. So all we're going to do is unscrew it a little bit, just to give us a little gap to break it loose. And then sometimes you can tap on them to get them to break loose. We'll give it a shot, but most times I just end up using a pickle fork, especially if I don't care about the ball joint. Nope, not happening. So we break out our trusty tuning fork slash pickle fork, and we just knock her on in. That is not breaking. Why are you not breaking that easy? Probably because you've been in there for 30 years. Can you move that cable? There it goes. So we got that broke loose. So now we got a little area to play with here. I didn't plan on replacing the tie rod ends. I don't want to let the spindle just sit here and hang. by the time, God almighty. A little bit grease there. But I don't want to let it sit and just hang by the tie rod end, because that'll end up just definitely ruining it. Tie rod end are not in the budget for this time around. We'll wait and probably do that a little ways down the road, depending on how sloppy the steering is in this guy. But you know, at least clean it up a little bit. Give her a little shot of Freol. That's my favorite. Smells good. It's expensive, but it's not like Kroll expensive. Kroll, last time I saw it was like 20-something a can. That stuff's like $13 a can, and it does an amazing job. So let's see. Hopefully she don't spin on me. Oh, I think she's spinning on me now that I broke it loose. Dang it. Oh. Almost passed out from that. That's spinning again. All right. So take this as a lesson learned. Don't knock your tie rod ends out until you get the freaking nut all the way off, and you can clean the threads, and you can just put it on a few, you know, by finger tight, and then knock it out. So now I'm dealing with this thing spinning, and you know, risking trashing the inside edge of this guy with the vice grips. So I guess I've got one of those nut splitters that you can take and basically crank it down, and it splits the nut right here, and then it just falls apart. I've got one of those I could do, and then I'm just replacing a nut, not having to replace the tie rod end. For now, like I said, we might end up doing that eventually. I guess it also depends on how bad this is when we pull it off. If I get this nut off and this thing's just flopping around, then we'll go ahead and do tie rod ends. But I guess that's what we're doing next. All right, so it's a nut splitter. Anytime you're doing anything like this with one of these tools, make sure and just put a little lubrication on the threads. Like if you're doing a spring compressor, something along those lines, try to take some of that stress off. So anyways, this is a pretty easy little device. Just a nice sharp tip. You stick it around the bolt, and then you just tighten it up, and then that tip will get in there, and it'll just basically split the side of the nut. And it shouldn't damage the threads on the stud for that guy. And that little pop lets you know that she's done. Oh, it's a different size now that I've broken it. Let's see if a 19 will slide over. Yep. So that's what it does. It just takes and splits the nut, takes the tension off of it, so it comes out. So I'll just have to find a nut now, as long as this tie rod isn't completely garbage. Although the other side of it is definitely garbage. Yeah, it's pretty sloppy. Yeah. A little grease ought to clear that up, although a lot of grease will probably just come out of the boot. But we'll grease that. So that's off of there. So now I can take this off, maybe. Cows are just angry today. So we can lift that up and get that out of the way, which now gives us all sorts of access in here. So I'll get in here and actually find my cotter pin and be able to work a little bit with this. There's part of it, I do believe. So this cotter pin is being extremely difficult, and it is not wanting to come out. I've tried clipping it and pushing it and pulling it and twisting it. Nothing seems to be working on this guy. Yeah, got a little twisted in there. Might be why. All right, let's see. I guess GM finally learned that just use one side on both, or one size on both ball joints, because if I remember right, on the C10 you have two different sizes to deal with. It makes it a little bit of a challenge. Oh, that is right up on that sway bar link. Holy crap. Yeah, that lower. That guy's definitely done with a capital D. Yeah, there's nothing left of that ball joint. What about this guy? Nothing really left there either. So no wonder the inside of the tires are trash. All right, now let's see if we can't get somewhere with it. I doubt it, but we'll give it the old college try. There we go. So time for the pickle fork. Maybe. Now if you note, I left the nut on there just in case this guy decides to get a little crazy and pop off. I don't want it smashing a toe. Why 4R you not brake? Jesus, man. That sucker is seized on there. Since this guy's fighting me, and is really being a pleasure to deal with, I figure sitting here soaking. I got this guy soaking in some Freon. Maybe that'll help to loosen it up. Figure I'll clean this edge up a little bit, because I'm gonna smack that sucker with a hammer. And if I got, with all the stuff that's caked on it, when I hit it with the hammer, it's gonna shoot little pieces out everywhere. Learned that lesson before. Ah. And a quick heads up, if there's grease and oil and sand mixed in right there where you're beating on, get ready to get smacked in the face with a bunch of greasy sand. Gah. But to keep it from shooting a bunch of crap out everywhere at me, I figure just kind of scrape this guy off. For some reason, the pickle fork can't get in there and do its job, it seems. So this one's really fighting. Oh, that is loud. Probably should put earplugs in for that. That was the sound I was looking for. Holy crap. I don't think I've ever had a ball joint fight me like that. That thing was like, this is my home. I will not leave. A little bit of force changes everything's mind. All right, there we go. So that's out. We're gonna clean these guys up. These spindles, when we get them off, we'll take them, hit them with the scraper. Scrape them up real good. And yeah, that thing's shot. So while we're in here, we'll probably go through like all this caked up crap, and we'll scrape all this stuff off. We'll clean up the spindles, you know, as we go, just kind of straighten stuff up. Get some of the gunk and, you know, decades of buildup that is on here. So what was I saying, 98, so that's 24 years? So, you know, 24 years of driving 300,000 plus, what is it, 318,000 miles on this thing. So yeah, there's some, there is some gunk. We're gonna go ahead and get this upper ball joint taken off. I'll go ahead and get this guy done. So what we're gonna do here is we're just gonna grind a little X in the rivets, and then hit it with the air chisel, and that should pop the rivets enough to where we can knock them on out on the bottom side. So sometimes you can get lucky and you can just put the edge of the chisel on the top of the rivet and just, you know, knock those off. So these have a small lip to them, so it's maybe a little bit more difficult, or maybe that's just a bunch of gunk that's built up. And it's mostly gunk. So maybe we'll give it a shot first with the air chisel, knocking these loose. And if that works, then great. If not, I got the grinder over here, so if need be, I got the grinder to finish the job. All right, here we go. All right, now we got the tops knocked off. We got to punch them out. So changing my bit to a little punch bit, which is slightly mushroomed, but that's okay. And there we go. Got our ball joint out. Good times. So what we're going to do is we'll come back, we'll clean the surface up real good, clean the inside area of this, and first thing we'll verify that the ball joint matches the one that got sent to us. But then we'll come back, we'll clean inside this just to make sure it's a nice clean surface for it to mount in. So while we're at the parts house, I totally forgot to get the ball joint press. So they got the little ball joint press that you can use to get these lower ball joints out, because they are press fit in. So so we'll have to make a run back out to the parts house to get the press, so we can press this guy out and put the new one in. So same thing pretty much though. We'll press this guy out, we'll clean the whole area up, and then we'll press the new one in and everything. So I guess that'll do it for now, and we'll get to cleaning on this mess and make our run to the parts house as soon as Jackson gets done tearing down the other side. And then we'll be back to get the new pieces and parts installed. Alrighty, so went to O'Reilly's and got their ball joint press, which is this big honking C-clamp basically. So the way you normally would do this is you would set, you got the big cup, and you've got, you know, one of your two chucks, I guess you would say. The way you would normally do it is you'd set the cup underneath, and then this guy would go over here, so that way you're pressing this guy down. But this isn't wide enough to actually fit all the pieces in here. I was monkeying with this just a few minutes ago, just like about to go out of my skull, because I was like, are you serious? This is the only ball joint puller they got, so or press, whatever. So getting a little creative with it, so I figured out probably the easiest way to do this, which is probably not the correct way to do it, but it's the way I'm going to do it, at least to get it started, is I'm going to slide that chuck over top. I'm going to flip this guy over, and then I'm going to put my cup and other piece on the bottom. Oh, I got to hook that first, and then come in here. So I have to get off my stool, because this is a lot lower than what my stool will let me get. And then we can get this guy centered on there and get this threaded up. And again, you always want to put a little lube on these things, because they are going under some pretty good stress. Okay. Like I said, this is not really the way this thing's supposed to do. It's supposed to be a little bit different than this, but that's, like I said, we're working with what we got. So we got a 7/8 bottom on this guy. Let's see, is that, I got this on tighten or loosen? It's on loosen, of course. So let's get that on there. Let's get that started snugging. In theory, this should work just the same. It just puts a little bit more stress on. I would think this will put just a little more stress on the C-clamp itself. Plus, we're pretty much going to squish the hell out of the boot and get all that grease squirting out of there. But if this can at least break it loose and get it out, then we'll be in business. These guys are pressed in, so they are a little bit of a bear. Let me go get my big breaker bar. That may work a little bit better on this. I live my life a quarter turn at a time. Yahtzee. That thing was under some tension. Good Lord have mercy. And now that's stuck on there. Awesome. Awesome. All right, now. Boom. So you can see where that guy's seated all the way around right there. So it just held in there with pressure. So now that that's out, of course we got to do the other side too. But before we do that, I got to clean. There's a lot of cleanup that needs to be done here because I hate getting in here and trying to put new parts in with a bunch of crap and crud flying around. So I'm gonna get this cleaned up and take a little breather because wow, that was tough. And then I'll go on the driver's side and knock that one out real fast. Okay, yeah, wouldn't you know it, this side fought and was an absolute nightmare to get out. And then I was like, well, Jackson, you get to have fun on your side. And his was just like, yeah, okay, I'll just come on out. Figures. So anyways, so I just want to clean this inside surface. I'm not going to get real aggressive. I found some 120 grit. It ought to work. It might be a little bit too aggressive. I'd rather have some 240, but 120 will work. I just want to clean up this inside edge where both of these mount up, just to kind of knock the rust and debris and all that crap out of there. So we're going to take and just kind of clean her up a little bit. Clean parts are happy parts. This one isn't as important to clean up. It's just something I like to do. This one, since that guy actually seats to it, you don't really want to go at this with a file or a Dremel or anything really aggressive because the ball joint needs a tight fit. So if you end up, wallering this out a little too much, that ball joint may not sit in there all the way, or it might be a little loose. And really there's only a couple ways to fix that. One would be to basically weld the ball joint to it, which we don't want to do. Or replace that lower control arm, which we definitely don't want to do. So yeah, so that's, just a little bit of sandpaper, just to clean it up. Yeah, so all I'm feeling for is just any little bumps in the surface. It ain't got to be like, glass smooth. It just needs to be smooth-ish. But yeah, right here, I had felt a little nub somewhere in there, so just sanded that out. So these guys are pretty well ready to go for the new ball joints. So I'm gonna go get those guys and let Jackson prep his side, and then I'll be right back. In case anybody's wondering what we got for pieces and parts, we got the Moog upper and lower ball joints. I think, what is that part number for the upper joint? K6292, and then lower joint, it's somewhere, K6445. So in case you were wondering, don't necessarily, you can pretty much look these up anywhere. So anyways, pulled out the new upper ball joint. So pretty much it comes in just, a lot of parts. So here's the new joint, ready to go. She is quite a bit stiffer than the old one because I've been trying to move this and I can't. I just don't have the leverage on it to do it. So, but you got your boot, separate So right now the boot will not seat just because it's at such an angle. It's not wanting to seat. And they probably don't want you to put the boot on until it's actually installed. So basically installed. So we got that guy, you know, set in place. These upper ones, man, that is a walk in the park on these guys. So these, instead of riveting in, because, you know, obviously we're not going to be cracking rivets like crazy out here, these guys just bolt in. Let's see if I can't get the little bag of bolts out of here. So we got bolts, nuts, and some lock washers. Oh, we also have the Zerk for this guy. Now, one thing I will say about these little grease Zerks is when they send them, a lot of times they're not threaded on the ball joint. I have cross-threaded and stripped many a Zerks. So if you do, then you can always go to like a Tractor Supply or something like that and buy replacement Zerks. I'm actually going to wait and do that later. Let's see, new cotter pin. And then we've got, why do we have so many bolts? Is it, so there's one. There's two. There's three. I'm guessing it's probably for different applications. And then we had this guy, as I drop things. Then we had this guy that was in here as a stud for the other ones. So you can install these a couple different ways. Some people like to take and put the bolt head down and put the nut on the top. Actually, there are no lock washers. These are just nuts. My thought on that, I'm not a big fan of it. I am going to put this one in from the bottom, since that's kind of the way it was done, to hold the, you know, the thing. Or maybe I'll just go from the top. We'll see how it works. Maybe it'll work just fine that way. Anyways, now I got some grade 8, I think they're grade 8. Oh no, these are 10.9, so those are metrics. Nice. I got some extra bolts. So anyways, I'm not going to put the nut on this guy, or actually I'll just stick it on there just so it's, you know, so don't get lost. Because that guy, I got to put this bracket on there first. But we can go ahead and put the nuts down on these. And go ahead and get those ran down as tight as my finger will let them. Are these nylogs? No. They are not. That guy's in there, you know, obviously we'll crank that down. Not too terribly worried about that guy. That's pretty self-explanatory, you know, just, you know, nuts and bolts. Easy peasy. So anyways, here's is the lower ball joint. And this thing is, this thing's got some heft to it. It's definitely a beefy unit. It also is the Moog Problem Solver 38. So, so basically we got to do the pretty much reverse of what we did earlier to get the old ones out to get this guy in. So he'll have to come up here, maybe try to get him up there so we don't destroy the boot. I don't know if I'm supposed to take the boot off or not. Like I said, this one didn't come with instructions, but yep, this guy needs to come up in here. Maybe we'll throw a little grease on that, a little penetrant or something so we don't tear the boot. But we got to get it past the boot and get it up into there, and then it's the pretty much opposite setup of what we did. So I got to put a cup out here with the bigger end so that the end of this can go through, and then block it off down here at the bottom with the presser plate. So I guess let me get a little penetrant and get this guy all set up. So a little bit of Freol on this guy. Maybe he'll slide. Maybe he'll slide on in there. Maybe not. I don't know. Let's see. And there we go. So I'm trying to make sure that my hole for the cotter pin kind of stays pointed that direction. That'll make life a lot easier when it comes to you know, setting the cotter pin in. So anyways, that guy's pretty well there. So we need this to go on the top. And we need this to go on the top. Like that. And then this will go on the bottom. Yeah. So this will sit something like this. Alrighty, so let's crank this turkey down. Almost there. Oh, we still got a little ways to go. So it's seated here on the side. It hasn't seated on the back side yet. That's unfortunate. Oh, just a touch to go. Whew. Lord have mercy. Alrighty then. They're both in, and I apologize. That was, whew, this side is tight. I basically cranked on this with everything I had to get that thing in there. It finally went. So, got that guy in. Again, I'm sorry, I'm out of breath right now. That was, whew, that was a lot of straining. So now we got our spindle back. Jackson took them out and gave them a good scrubbing. You know, basically just scraping all the big crap off of it. We're not building a show truck here, so. So we can go ahead and get lower set on there. Maybe. Get the brake caliper out of the way. Get back over there. So we get this lower kind of started. Why does everything have to be in the way? Okay. Now, we're not bolted down here. But that's okay. We at least get it poked through. So we're kind of, you know, starting to put stuff back together. Okay. So, new ball joints upper and lower installed. Still got to tighten everything down and get it all set up. I got to hook the tie rod, you know, back up. Then we got to get the dust shield on, all that fun stuff.
A few moments later.
All right, so this is all ready to go now. Mine is getting another nut for the tie rod end. I'll hunt one of those down here in just a few minutes. So we just got to put a nut on that, and we're good shape there. This guy's tight. The bottom is tight. Oh yeah, I forgot. I got to put these Zerks in. All right, big key to getting these guys in there is patience. Oh Lord, patience. Because one false move, and you've got that guy crossed or stripped, or both. So just little turns until it gets started. I'm just holding my thumb on the top of it to make sure that it doesn't walk. But it should thread on in there. He is in there. So now we should be good to crank, but don't crank too hard. This is a little guy. He's just a little guy. So, and definitely keep an eye on it for once it bottoms out, because you go over tightening, then you just rip all the threads out. And it's just as bad as getting her started crooked and jacking it up that way. Okay. So that is seated. Yep. He's on there. Now this guy did not come with, you know, it's got a little grease inside the ball joint, but it does not have a lot. So I will grease this ball joint, and same thing on the bottom. I'll get some grease in that one as well. That way they're good and greased. They're full of grease. We ain't got to worry about that. They do come with some grease in it, but not a lot. You know, it's probably enough to make it live for a little while. But you know, a couple pumps with the old grease gun, and she'll be all right. Okay, so now we're back over here at the spindle. Already hit it with some brake clean, wiped it down real good, got all the grime and grit and crap off of it. So we're gonna put a nice little coat of grease on this, and then we'll probably flip over the hub and smear the inside of it with some more grease, and then slide the hub on here, and then put the outer bearing on, and then we'll get the washer and the nut on it. So a little bit of grease. I really do like this grease. It is some sticky stuff. It is very sticky. Some of that sticky, icky, as Snoop Dogg would say. Although something tells me Snoop Dogg's talking about a different type of sticky, icky. Some of that devil's lettuce. I mean, look at that. It's just black. This is some good stuff. Highly recommend it. I'll probably end up pulling Steve and Big John back in here and redoing their bearings with this stuff, because I like this stuff. And it's not because I like repacking bearings. It's just, this stuff is just, it's nasty. It's so good. Alrighty, here we go. Okay, so that's on there. Let's get our giant glob that got pushed out, kind of pushed back in. And let's grab our other bearing. That's all stuck to the plastic. Get off of there. Come on, there we go. Okay, get our washer put on. And our castle nut. Got this guy, he's set to inch pounds, but it's at 144 inch pounds, which is 12 foot-pounds. And there it is. I just, God, I hate that. Let's go a little tighter. Yeah, see, that's a little too tight. So it's impacting the way this guy rolls. So we'll back him off a little bit. Back him off a little more. And I have lost where the pin goes. So remembering back, it was 12 foot-pounds. Initial, and then back it off, and then finger tight. So I'm gonna call that finger tight-ish. Maybe different on the OBS, but I'm not too concerned with looking it up right now. Just trying to figure out where my hole is. Right there. Okay. So I still got to clean the cap up. It's got a bunch of crap down in it. So I'll get this guy cleaned up. It ain't too bad, but it's got, you know, bits and pieces of stuff down in there and the old grease and everything. So I'll get this guy cleaned out and get a big old fat glob of grease in there, and then we'll shove him back on there. And then all we got to do then is collapse down the caliper, put the new pads on, and I still got to find a nut for that tie rod in. But we're close to getting this side done, and then we'll have to go over there and finish up on the driver's side with Jackson. So I'll get this done really fast, get it knocked on, and then I'll catch back up here in a minute. Alrighty, so I pulled the old brake pads out. As you can tell, there was not much left on those guys. This one you can actually see the rivets. It hadn't got to them yet, but it wasn't far off. This one still had a little life left on it, but yeah, brake pads definitely shot. So I'm gonna use the one that goes inside the caliper here. Maybe. Get it loaded back in. And then I'm gonna use my C-clamp. And run the caliper back in. So that should be good now. Now, I know there's grease and crap on the brake rotor. I'll take, before we go actually to test ride this thing. Actually, I probably ought to do this now. So let me go get a little thinner on a rag and wipe all the grease and crap off. Plus, this still has the, actually, this doesn't feel as greasy as they usually do, but usually they come with some sort of, you know, greasy coating to keep them from rusting or flash rusting. So, let me go get some thinner on a rag and I'll get that cleaned up real fast. Now I've got our new Raybestos brake pads that we got from Rock Auto. I'll go ahead and load these guys up. Okay, finally got these guys loaded up. The caliper itself was kind of stuck out, so it took a lot. I didn't realize how far out that thing was. But little trick for you here, which I discovered, is these calipers don't like to be loaded in. You know, some of them like to go in top first and then slap the bottom in. Yeah, good luck with that. These don't like that. Ugh. So pretty much just got to get it started, get it set in place, and then slide her in pretty square. This came with some grease for the slides, and new boots for the slides as well. These boots are actually just fine. There's nothing wrong with them other than being just a little dirty. They're not tough. They're not split. They're in pretty good shape. So I'm not going to worry about replacing those boots, but I will put some grease on the slides if I can figure out where I put it. Right here beside me. All right, now we can just crank these guys in. Okay, so passenger side is done, minus the tie rod. I got to get another nut. You know, I split this guy. So I got to get another nut. Hopefully I have one that works. It's a coarse thread, so I should. But we'll get another nut on here, and we'll get that tie rod end on here. But I'm going to go find, or I'm going to go help Jackson get his part done over on his side, and then I'll hunt for a nut while he's finishing up packing bearings and getting his side all put together. And then I think we're going to call it a night after that. And we'll get out here in the morning, get the wheels and tires put on, and get the exhaust buttoned up and change out the shocks. I forgot we were going to change shocks out. So I guess that'll do it for tonight. I'll see you guys in the morning. The look of disappointment. So we just basically found a hard stop on all progress on this truck, and I'm aggravated by it. I didn't think to even look, but yeah, so the genius that put this driver's side together before, that didn't put the hub seal on, and the thing was just dancing around on the inner bearing, which is making it dance around on the outer bearing, so it couldn't seat and it couldn't do what it's supposed to do. We were getting ready to start, you know, basically, and I've been focused on the passenger side. I haven't been over here on the driver's side to really look at much of anything. And Jackson's just learning, so, you know, he doesn't know to say, hey, Dad, this doesn't look good. So I come over here and I clean off the spindle because we're getting ready to put the new rotor and hub on. We got the new bearings all packed in. Everything's ready to go. And so I come over here and I spray this thing, and man, it shreds my my paper towel that I was using to wipe the rest of the grease off. I'm like, what in the world is going on here? And then I went down here and I started looking. So where that thing was not installed properly, let's see if I don't know if this thing will focus up worth a crap on it. But I mean, you can see where the groove is rubbed in here. It's got a raise here and it's got another groove rubbed in here. But I mean, look at the chunks. I mean, this spindle is trash. This thing is not salvageable. And I don't want to go slapping new bearings and all that stuff on this busted up old spindle. I mean, look at this thing. It's just, I mean, beat to pieces. And then here's the washer. You see anything that's missing on this washer? Well, about right there where my thumbnail is, there should be a tab that aligns it here and keeps it from rotating. So it keeps pressure on that, outer bearing. Well, that's obviously not there because this guy's just dancing around doing whatever he wants. So now we got a decision to make. I looked at the lowering setup on it. We're going to budget the hell out of it and drop this thing. Was just going to do a simple axle flip in the back, and it gives about 5 inches. But it's a little tight back there without a C-notch. So I don't want him to only have 3/4 of an inches of up travel because it'll just beat the hell out of him. Now, he's young enough. I know he can take it. It'll be okay. But I still might have to drive this thing from time to time. So I'd like for that rear end to have the travel that it needs. So to do the rear drop, we're going to need to C-notch it. No big deal. I can find the brackets. We'll get the C-notch reinforcement brackets or bracing, whatever they call it. We can get that. No big deal. But now I have a busted old spindle. So now I'm like, okay, what do I do here? Do I just say, screw it and buy lowering spindles for it? That's going to blow our budget way out of the water. I might be able to beg, borrow, and steal. Not really steal, but just beg and borrow. I'm sure somebody in one of the C10 club or the OBS club, I'm sure somebody's got a spindle somewhere that's not beat to pieces like this thing is. So I think what I'm going to do is that, hit up the guys on Facebook, see if somebody has a spindle that I can get, and we may have to run out tomorrow and go get it. And then it'll just be basically busting this guy loose from the new ball joints. Yay. Luckily, it hasn't been driven on yet, so they aren't seated in there really, really tight. So it shouldn't be that big a deal to knock them loose. Get that done. Then we just have to pull the dust shield off and switch the spindle out. So we might do that, and if I can find it and I can get it quick enough, then we'll definitely do that, and we'll be in good shape here. Otherwise, we may just say screw it and kind of blow the budget, which I hate to do because I really wanted to keep this under $2,000. And at this rate, the way we've gone, we were actually going to come in at about $1,400 total money in this truck, minus the suspension. We weren't going to worry about, I wasn't going to worry about counting the lowering kit and the new shocks, mainly because we weren't going to put them on. So I wasn't going to worry about counting those yet. I was going to kind of wait and just do that as a whole nother episode, showing how to drop these things and get them on the ground cheap-ish. So you don't have to go out and blow $1,200 or $1,500 on a suspension setup. Especially if you're not really worried about the performance too much. You just want something that looks cool and gets you from point A to point B. So I'm not sure which direction I'm going to go just yet, but I'm pretty much out of time on this for this week. Cause I've got to get the editing done. I've got household duties that I got to take care of tomorrow. I got to go to the grocery store, laundry, all the stuff. So I got to get all that stuff done. I was going to come out here and put, an hour or two in on this in the morning, but there's no sense in doing that if I can't do anything with this spindle. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Man, it sucks too. That really sucks. I was getting really amped up about driving this thing because I'm curious how it drives. I mean, we already know it starts and we know it goes into gear and goes from, forward and backward. Everything else seems in pretty good shape. Really disappointing. So I don't know what we're going to do. If I can get an answer tonight, I'll update. And I guess we'll just kind of figure it out from there. Well, alrighty. So I put the word out, see if anybody had anything. Haven't heard anything back. So I guess we'll go ahead and wrap the video up. Just mainly because, you know, like I said, time. I need to get some editing done. And also, like I said, I got a lot of household stuff I got to take care of tomorrow. So, unfortunately, I haven't heard anything back about a stock one. I haven't price shopped for drop spindles for OBSs yet. I would assume probably a couple $100. We may go ahead and do that route. I don't know just yet. So I guess we'll find out next week. Cliffhanger. So tune in next week to find out what we do. So yeah, so I guess that's what we're going to have to do is we're just, you know, we'll have to figure it out. And next week, hopefully the parts come in time where we can get this thing down on the ground. This does kind of let us get some other stuff done. You know, in the meantime, I can go and get the exhaust done, which is nothing. It's just patching up the exhaust that's there. But if I'm going to go ahead and do drop spindles on the front, I'll probably go ahead and do the C-notch for the back. We've already got the shocks for everything. I don't know. I'm trying not to go too deep on this truck, mainly because, you know, we got that truck. Got a lot more money in that truck than we do this truck, and this truck's kind of eating me up right now. But man, it really sucks. So, anyways, tune in next week and we'll find out what I decided to do. Like I said, if I can find one that's a stock one pretty close by, cheap or free, I'll probably just go that route because that's quick, easy, and cheap. And that's kind of the name of the game on this truck right now is just, you know, extreme budget beater. So otherwise, I'm going to blow my entire budget out of the water, and then I'll just change the way I've been referring to it. Instead of being, can I build this truck for, you know, under $2,000, I'll be like, can I build this truck for under $3,000? Actually, it'll probably end up being like $2,500 if I go ahead and drop it and do all that. So anyways, I do appreciate y'all guys watching. It means a ton. Be sure and like the video if you haven't done it so far. If you made it this far and you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? Go ahead and hit that little subscribe button down there. Don't cost nothing. It'll make you feel good. It'll make me feel really good. So almost to 1,000 guys. Come on. Let's see if we can't push this thing over the goal line there for before December comes. So tell friends, family, neighbor, enemies, whatever. I don't care. If they like old beaters and crap like that, you know, tell them about it, and let's see if we can't go ahead and get this number on up there. So anyways, I do appreciate each and every one of y'all guys and gals that are watching. Feel free to drop any comments, questions, or anything down below. I'm usually pretty good about answering those. If you just want to shoot me a message or whatever, I've got my email address and stuff also down below in the description. Oh, almost forgot. I've also got a second channel that I just started up. It's actually an old channel that I had that I just kind of renamed, and now I'm uploading some other stuff to it. So if you want to see some other stuff that's not particularly vehicle related, sometimes it is. I think it's wrong, but start doing like the car shows and stuff that I go to, cruise-ins and whatnot. Probably gonna put them over on the other channel. That is Good Enough Stuff, spelled out just like Good Enough Customs. It's just instead of customs, it's stuff at the end. Just wrapped up and posted a video on there where I built some shelves for cabinets for my work. So that was kind of cool. I put those guys in this past week, and they worked amazingly well. So, you know, it's like an hour-long video. But it goes from basically raw material all the way through. So anyways, if you're into that kind of stuff, you know, randomness, go check that channel out. Give it a like and subscribe too if you want. I won't be posting there as much as I do here. Here's pretty much every week. Over there, it might be weekly. It might be every couple weeks. It might be a month between. I don't know. But I'll throw stuff out there from time to time. So anyways, once again, do appreciate it, guys and gals. And look forward to seeing y'all next week. So just remember, ain't got to be perfect. Ugh, that ain't perfect. That ain't good enough. So y'all guys take it easy. We'll see y'all next week.